Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott. Ever since Sony launched their MI shoe or multi-interface shoe on a mirrorless camera, I have been really intriguing and kind of banging the drums every time I've been doing a microphone review, wanting to see some of these third-party companies leverage that interface to get the digital audio that is afforded there. Now, I didn't know obviously early on whether or not that there was some kind of licensing issue there, but fortunately we have started to see that come to pass, that we started to see some of these microphone companies that have started to leverage that MI shoe to allow for the option of doing digital audio. There are some key reasons why I've wanted to see that happen. Very often what I see with these microphone packages is that they have a really slick charging case that helps to keep both the receiver and the transmitter or transmitters charged. But while they're very sleek and portable, what they don't leave space for typically is room for a 3.5 millimeter cable by which you can attach the receiver to your camera. So as a byproduct, you have this slick case, but you really end up having to either carry something separately or you have to have a larger container to put both the charging case and then the cables that you need as a part of it. I've also noted that with cameras that have a articulating LCD screen that can be faced to the front for monitoring, like I'm filming on the Sony a7R Mark V right now, which is set up that way, that sometimes that 3.5 millimeter cable is just in the way. It's blocking part of the screen or it's blocking the actual rotation of that and you have to fiddle around with the cable. And then of course there is the real advantage of being able to record digital audio rather than pure analog audio and thus get the advantages that come with that. So because of that, the first of these third-party systems that I'm reviewing is the Godox WEC-S, which stands for Sony. And it is the first third-party that I've seen integrate this, but kind of in a second generation way to where things are becoming more usable, more compact, more like what I'm looking for. In fact, the WEC-S looks a lot like the other wireless mic systems that I've used and reviewed. I've used about 10 of them at this point. But the key difference here is that the receiver taps into the MI shoe and can slide right on there with those digital contacts and allows for digital audio recording. I'm actually using the system right now to record this review here. Even more impressive is the fact that it does it for a really amazing price. Even if you get the essentially maximum kit that I am reviewing here, which they call the Kit 2, and that there are 2 transmitters rather than 1, it does all of this for a grand total of just $139 US, which is a really great price, particularly when you're being set free from the cable universe. So let's talk about some of the things that are included here. First, we'll take a look at what's inside the box. First of all, there's great packaging. Everything fits inside this relatively small custom case. And when I say that, I mean everything. We're talking about not just the charging case, which is in the bottom tier here, and all that it contains, but then also there's room up above here and a pouch where you can fit in some extra cables. By the way, the extra cables are there, and so you do have the option if you have a camera that's not compatible with the digital audio, does not have the MI shoe, you can still record to that. So you can record to a non-Sony camera or a Sony body that doesn't have the multi-interface shoe. There's also a cable there to allow you to record to a mobile device, a phone or whatever, and so an option for transmitting to that or to a laptop. You have the 2 transmitters, you have the receiver obviously. You also have the charge cable that's included here, which is a USB-A to USB-C. And then there are also 3 different, call them a dead cat or a furry windscreen to help to block wind noise. And the reason why there are 3 of them is the fact that there is actually a mic even on the receiver here that you have the option of using there. So anyway, there's a lot that's packed into this, and I appreciate the fact that all of it fits into this really nice custom case that is included. So as noted, both the transmitters, obviously, and then the built-in, or the receiver have a built-in mic. And so you have a switch on the side of the receiver that allows you to choose whether or not you want to use that mic as a third audio source. The rating for the transmission range, which is line of sight, is 200 meters, which is about 656 feet. At this point, that's really kind of a non-issue. All of these that I'm testing these days, they're very, very good for that. And of course, often I'm going to I like to hide the receiver. So sometimes, or excuse me, the transmitter, sometimes I have it behind my back, particularly if it's a system where I can use a lav mic. But either way, in the typical ways you're going to use this, this is obviously massively more range than what you're going to need in most situations. Just know that that is line of sight, so if you have something obstructing, like your body, that range is going to reduce, fairly dramatically, but still with a lot left over, a lot of room to play with at that point. Now, when it comes to the actual transmitters, the in-transmitter battery life is about 8 hours. So typically plenty of recording time for whatever your application is. And then of course you have the charge case where you can fairly quickly charge those back up. You can get about 21 hours for the entire kit. That's charging the 2 transmitters multiple times, charging the receiver multiple times. So you have 21 hours of recording time before you need to plug the actual charging kit back in. The receiver itself is dual channel, which I appreciate. You have a switch right on there where you can switch between digital and analog audio. Again, that's giving you more recording opportunities. You also have the option to use the DNR or dynamic range or dynamic noise reduction. I'm often not a big fan of what that does to the audio, but your mileage may vary with that. They've managed to keep the transmitters themselves very lightweight. They weigh in at just 12 grams here, and the system itself is much more compact than what first generation attempts were. I noticed that in particularly when it comes to the receiver. The first generation, I think from Godox that I saw, the receiver was fairly large. In this case, as you can see, it's really, it's only a hair bigger than some of the other receivers from some of the other microphone kits that I'm using. I also like the integration of the locking mechanism for the MI shoe that allows you to slide on there and make sure that it's locked and stays in place, and you have a clear indication that that is taking place. So let's talk about some things that I like in practical use. I've been using it for about a month at this point. So things that I like, and then we'll talk about some things that I don't like. I really love the no cable situation. I love that I can go with this and it has everything that I need in it. The fact that I can just slide that onto that MI shoe and lock it in place and record audio. It's just one less step. And I have had issues before where for whatever reason, I connected one end of the 3.5 millimeter cable and I didn't the other. I've shot a whole episode and realized that I have zero audio there. Things like that before. So being able to take one more variable out of that equation, I really like. I like the integration of the locking mechanism to where you are assuring you have a proper connection. And even better, it does have a blue MI indicator that will light up on the receiver itself to let you know that you have achieved a proper connection, that a signal is being transmitted. I do love the packaging here. I love both the smaller case and then also the larger case. They're well integrated and it's just a more elegant solution than what I have seen in many situations. I love the compact nature of the components itself. Now, I wouldn't say that the transmitters are anything special in terms of the size, but the receiver being downsized and getting basically to the place where they've often been in the past is fantastic to me. I'm really glad to see that we're not having to pay the price for it with a big bulky receiver to go with this digital audio solution. I love the fact that there is no interference with my LCD screen when I'm rotating that towards facing the front for front monitoring, and so that is a great addition is there. What I have found when it comes to the digital audio versus analog audio is more when it comes to processing the sound. And what I have found is that I have a lot more latitude with the sliders. I like to create custom EQs for my voice and for the different environments that I will film in. And what I have found is that there's a lot more latitude to tweak. Both in the low end and then also in the high end. Particularly note in the high end, there's just a lot extra latitude there where I can pull things up without the sound starting to go tinny or distorted. And so definitely more latitude for processing the sound. There's just more there to work with, kind of like the difference between processing a JPEG versus processing a raw image. There's just a lot more information to work with. I wouldn't say that the sound out of the box is automatically better. But what I would say is that there's more room to tweak it there. The battery life and the transmission range, all of those are excellent. Frankly, I don't expect anything less at this point, but at the same time, it is something that I appreciate how good these systems actually are, how good they are at transmitting, audio wirelessly, and I spent a lot of years working with wired audio signals and all the complications that came with that. And so I really appreciate how well integrated these are. And I can't go away without commenting on how fantastic I feel like the price is for all that you're getting, and the fact that you're getting this newer technology that does allow you to record digital audio. Obviously, this whole system is considerably less expensive than any of the mic options from Sony themselves. So how about some things that I don't like? I have one major thing, and the major thing is that while I appreciate that the transmitters themselves are fairly compact, they're not the most compact on the market, but more importantly to me, there is no option on them to have a separate lav mic. And for me, the lav mic option is the best option. It is the most discreet on camera. And while I've got this here and it's not terrible, I do prefer having that discreet lav mic. It also means that I can kind of hide the receiver at the back of my body, which is my preferred way. That's not an option, at least on this generation. And so that's something I will criticize. I also would say that the built-in microphones on the transmitters themselves, they are good, but they're not great. I think that there's room for better sound there, and even with the ability to tweak that digital audio signal, I'm not necessarily blown away by the mic quality feeling like it's top-notch. And so it's, again, being able to put a good lav mic on there helps to eliminate a lot of that issue, and so I think that that's an easy fix for them moving ahead. Not necessarily a serious issue, and not really probably a Godox issue, but more just a Sony reality, and that is that when you are connecting into the Mi Shoe and you are recording digital audio, you lose the ability to manually set audio levels in the camera itself. It is just going to go into an auto mode, and while I feel like so far it's done a very good job with setting those auto modes, I would prefer to have at least the option of going to a manual setting of the audio there as well. So those are a few of my criticisms at this point, a few major, one minor. My conclusion is this: the Godox has basically delivered pretty much exactly what I've been asking for ever since Sony launched the Mi Shoe on its mirrorless cameras. And so I really appreciate that we are finally leveraging that technology and producing an audio system that is really, really useful. The sound quality isn't quite as impressive as what I hoped for. I think, again, adding that lav option will help, but I do really love the latitude of tweaking the digital audio signal, that there's just a lot more there to work with. So I love the convenience, I love the great packaging, I love the fantastic price. And I'll say this in conclusion, plug and play for Sony shooters at least just got a whole lot more convenient. If you want more information, you can check out the description down below. There are some buying links there and places where you can do a little bit more research. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.